Hey there! Thanks for joining us at Flipside Frolic, where we learn to understand each other's perspectives by flipping the script and having some fun. Here we go.
All right, welcome to Flipside Frolic. This is your host, Carl Kamick. Here I have Nick Bianco, the co-founder of Spiritus Coffee, and a friend. Not too long. We haven't been known each other for all that long. But here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about what Nick's been up to. First, we stopped by and we had a quick little crash course on a French press that I bought. And he was nice enough to bring over some of his coffee for us to check out. And so we got kind of a mess on the table here. We got a couple of different options here for the Costa Rica blend. We have the, how do we say this one?
Lilacia. Named after the Lilacia Park in Lombard.
And then we have some, not to be confused with ether.
That's the aether.
But the aether.
It is the dark matter that connects it all.
So we did a little experiment with some grams and some hot water and a French press here. So that's what we're going to be sipping on today during the podcast. And with that, we are actually launching a partnership that Nick is our Flipside Frolic's official first sponsor. So we're going to be doing some announcements with that. And if you want to go to the website, it'll be in the description. And if you put Flipside in the coupon code, you will get a nice little discount for your purchase through Flipside Frolic. So with that, we're going to hear a little bit first about Nick's background, where he came from, what his life's like, and we'll start there.
Awesome. Well, Carl, thanks for having me on. This is first time for me. Excited to be here. And a little bit about me. Originally from Michigan, so grew up just south of Detroit. They call it the Downriver area. Detroit suburbs, very working class, blue collar. I don't think I knew anyone in my family, friends, neighbors that had a college degree. Everyone worked to, somewhere around the big three automotive, and everyone had aspirations to, get that union job and to be able to make a good living if they could, get the 100 hours a week in that a lot of guys worked. So grew up with just me and my mom. So a little bit different is that not only was I an only child, but didn't know my dad growing up. So different kind of upbringing with her and I, and some of the things that we all go through, good and bad when we're kids. I know it's real easy now and common for people to talk about different levels of challenges that we had when we were younger as trauma, which used to be a real like, oh gosh, I didn't have any trauma. I had a wonderful upbringing. I know what trauma looks like. That's those folks over there that had real problems. I didn't have real problems. And then you come to find out you should have some compassion about yourself and the things that you go through. There was times that I didn't feel safe, times that I wasn't safe. But all in all, I never really thought there was any problem at all, to be honest, right? Me growing up, I thought it was perfectly fine and liked, most of that upbringing in the Detroit suburbs. So that was my childhood.
Well, that's pretty similar. I mean, some of the people might have heard some of my story, and I am kind of branching off where you heard it here first, but I'm going to do Flipside flip outs to where it's going to just be me and a rant on what's kind of going on with local news or whatever else. I'm going to start that off by doing almost like a full hour of my background or what I've been up to, and just in case any of the listeners want to know a little bit more about my story outside of what is talked about in conversations. But nice. Same kind of thing in somewhat inner city Chicago, near northwest side, like Cicerone Diversity area. So it was kind of a little borderline on several different neighborhoods. And for some reason, again, like we all thought that it's the trauma thing. So we're gonna pour a little a little cup to give this a go.
Yeah, this is made by a competing coffee company, so I'm going to say this is a faulty and bad design here. The competition's got to get it together. I'm just kidding.
There is a second. There's like a second screen in there, and so I'm not sure exactly if that's supposed to be in there.
I'm not sure.
It was a half click to come for the top to come off.
Yeah. Well, we didn't practice this. I can try. I can try a couple. Well, I don't know. You want to take a look at it?
Yeah, let's see.
All right. I think.
No, that's cool.
I'm going to let you, I'm kind of working around the microphone here.
It's all good. So, yeah, you could just continue on.
I will say that we did watch the James Hoffman French press video to get our technique down so far. However, I think our waiting, that 8 minutes, I might not have waited the full 8. I don't know.
There was no coffee above the screen, so he did mention not to push it down all the way and compress it,
right?
But to push it, so I did push it down.
All right,
some.
All right, good. All right, let's try it. Let's
see what happens now.
I know to trust James.
And, shout out to James.
Oh, there's a button too. Oh, look at this.
Now we're flowing.
You know what?
That sounds like a commercial.
This is why I don't claim to be an expert. Just an enthusiast, Carl.
Well, that's good.
Just an enthusiast. And
well, the main reason we have people come over to Flipside Frolic and is because I love when people have passion for stuff, and when people are excited about things.
It's hot. It turned out good. It's a good brew. I'm loving it.
Cool.
This is our latest Costa Rica micro lot. So awesome. So yeah, it's so funny because you and I, we know each other from, a lot of mutual friends that we have based on, recovery circles, and having that story of, getting well and, living a little different life today and having those things in common. We get used to, the parts of our story that involve, a little TMI, so I'm real easy to cross over those lines and be like, you want to talk about childhood? Let's get deep. I'll talk about all of it. Here we go. And, but the reality is, things were good. I grew up, and I know I also, want to make sure, I can talk about myself all day long. It's something I know a lot about. Coffee as well. But I'll take a lot of time sharing about myself if you're interested. I don't think I'm that exciting, but if you want to hear,
well, that's the point.
Like, if it is about me or about coffee,
it's about building relationships and everything, cool. and that's awesome. And obviously, the listeners are going to hear tidbits of me all the time, and I'm going to be repeating myself here and there or whatever. But that's fine. But it's really more about the guests and what the guest is into or whatever. But again, like you said, with different programs and recovery and just being a little bit more spiritual based and a little bit more get out of the way and sometimes let the power of the universe guide you and do things, and just coincidences start happening, and then you fall into something else, and then you read a book, and then before you know it, that mentions another book, and 3 books later you're just like, how did I even get here? I'm reading about metallurgy, and just like So that's the amazing thing. If we just let life happen and try to not fix, manage, and control, as some would say, or play the director, I can attest that way don't work for me.
Yeah.
And then also about being a little bit more action oriented with just following dreams and aspirations or ideas or whatever, and just give it a shot. If you feel that impulse, even on a spiritual or whether it's even a collective consciousness or whatever this is, that there's something going on where when you think of somebody and you're like, oh man, I should give that guy a call, you should act on that, because there's reasons for some of this magic that happens, and we don't realize it might just be a straight up conversation, but you don't, then maybe later on you will hear, or maybe you won't hear, like, man, I really needed that call at that moment, or you'll hear these different stories and stuff. And so I try to act on that kind of stuff just because, it's important. And I believe that we have to try to tap into a little bit more of the humanity side of human nature. And that's why I, on flip side, flip outs, I might maybe pull in a Zoom or interview somebody from out of state or whatever. And when the podcast takes off more and I can afford to fly people in, even better. But sitting across the table from somebody having a conversation is just such a different world than what this social media answering with our thumbs and then typos, and everybody thinks you're a moron because you can't spell things right. And instead of just having a human relationship and a conversation with somebody, so that's what we're about here. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, and like just to touch on the trauma, like you were saying, makes us who we are. And
Right,
so
right.
I would not wish that on my worst enemy, some of the experiences I've been through. However, that makes us who we are today. So good, bad, or indifferent, there's a lot of different stories in society of, even, I mentioned Michael Jordan before, how, some sixth grade coach tells you should just quit. And what person would tell some kid that nowadays? You could almost get locked up for saying something negative to somebody. And if everybody doesn't get a trophy, God forbid, that's trauma today. Although that inspired him or put some sort of drive in him, whether it's a F you, I'll show you, who knows? And even in recovery and different things, sometimes that even works. Like, just go back out and do your thing because you're not ready. And sometimes, being honest with people is a good start to be like, screw him, I'll show him, and if that's what keeps somebody coming around or keeps somebody, on the path of staying sober, then it wasn't a bad thing to say. So who the hell are we to judge? At the end of the day, we don't know what works. I don't know what doesn't work. But just trying to be helpful and trying to be honest, and we definitely get, you end up in some business atmosphere and you start telling some story about some running with the law or something.
Right,
everybody's looking at you like you're from another planet. Whereas, I guarantee we could one up each other all day long on crazy stories for sure. But that's the trauma that makes us who we are. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, everybody's got a different word for it or something different that they think about that. I had very little understanding of any of that stuff until much later in life. And for the most part, everything was pretty good. Growing up south of Detroit, that's the way things were in the area I grew up in. And, always interested in music. So I, that was a bigger part of my life than sports ever was. And, next, for me was, the school side of things. I'll say, I think you and I have a lot in common as far as the way I explain it is that if I have an interest in something, I can't stop myself from pursuing it. And I think that from some of the things I've heard about you and from you, I think you're probably as close to a like-minded individual in that area than anybody else I may have ever talked to. And that's how we got together talking. Is I think somebody we know said, if you what was it? If your son might like aquariums and that kind of thing, then you need to talk to Carl. And and kind of the rest snowballed from there. But to tie that together, what I was gonna say is I'm totally ADD, right? So yeah, I'm definitely got a lot of in the way that it manifests itself, and I think that's kind of a buzzword and a word that everybody wants to throw around. I think I was kind of given that diagnosis when I was a kid, having teachers refer me to some professionals. I was not treated for it ever, until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But the way it manifests itself is that impulsivity, as well as if I have an interest, I've got to go after it, right? So for me, that meant school was not fun. And as soon as I had a driver's license, I was like, hey, let's use this car to meet up at school and then get the hell out of here, right? Like I was not wasn't I didn't have an easy time sitting and paying attention in a classroom, and it took my life in a direction of kind of pursuing whatever interest was next, and that was the childhood. And I'm not sure with you some of those similarities. I think you said you had gone to college. You were in the service, and
yeah. So you know, I say it all the time, but I believe with everything in me that it would have been easier for me to get straight A's in high school than it would have been to get straight D's, which is what I got. For how much work I did to figure out exactly how little I had to do to get by was almost a skill in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot of energy. It took a lot of time. You're manipulating teachers, you're talking and working out a deal, and you're, hey, if I can, is there an extra credit assignment? So you just pull me up to that D, you know? And so, and it was the same kind of ADD thing as well, too, that and we could, you know, with exercise and canceling recess and just, you know, I think that there is a certain different type of, you know, whether it's the 4 personality types they talk about or whatever
Sure.
it is, one of those is kind of us, you know, and I can't really say that I'm a super creative, but that creative mindset is kind of that same kind of ADD scatterbrain kind of thing. And then throw in a little bit of discipline and you can do some stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's very easily getting sidetracked on stuff too is not a great thing. So sometimes, like, I know you talked as a co-founder for Spiritus and the other co-founder is a little bit more on the analytical side. And that usually makes a good partnership because somebody's got to run the books and crunch the numbers as I'm off here, you know, being spiritual and being artistically minded and driven to grow and marketing and some of these other creative things that are more the creative type. So that is very common with me. And I try, you know, you try to tell your kids that, and my kids are getting great grades and everything else. It's just like, that's not me, you know, and at some point as they're getting older, it's like, you know, Dad's gotten in some trouble in the past, and you know, I was doing some running around today just with little things, and you know, just because I just coincidentally things kind of fall in your lap, and then you're like, oh, I guess maybe I should explore this with just expungement or getting some 25-year-old thing off your record, even though it doesn't really matter anymore. Once you get 20 years, you know, I'm 21 years sober, so. I haven't had a speeding ticket in that time, coincidentally. It's amazing. You know, it's like you stop messing around with, you know, alcohol and somehow I managed to stay out of trouble for 20 years. It's just, maybe it's some sort of coincidence. But,
yeah, what a bizarre coincidence, isn't it?
So,
yeah.
So we're going to just keep doing that and trying to stay out of trouble. But with that nature, like you said, I got into the aquarium industry. I was breeding fish. I mean, so I had 800 gallons of salt water flowing through my basement at one time and doing rotifers and doing phytoplankton and growing my own food for the rotifers to feed the fish larvae. And it looked like a meth lab when you walked in, and I was in sobriety. But, you know, early on, it was really a great way. Hobbies were a great way to just keep my brain distracted, because sitting around thinking about thinking is not a good place for me to be. Yep. You know, and catastrophizing things and all this other stuff. Just go out, do something, go out, help somebody, get a hobby. I did getahobby.org. I was doing some testing on a blog just to say I'll pair you up with a hobby for you because I'm in all these hobbies. You know?
Yeah. Oh, you actually bought that URL and you were trying to help people have this issue.
You've got it's out there. So
you got extra hobbies. You can get rid of a few, and you know, they need one. You'll take care of that. You've got more than enough to.
And interestingly enough, even, you know, with spirituality and with recovery and with people trying to help each other and all this sort of thing, this altruistic service idea is something that was just foreign to me as growing up. You know, and why would you volunteer all this time? And why would you do things? I'm the one that needs the help. I'm the one in all the trouble. Why would I? And so you realize the more that you give back, it's like it's a karma thing or whatever it is. It just seems to work out better. And you go to Habitat for, like one time I went to Habitat for Humanity out in the Aurora area, actually, out that way. Yeah. And I got an email and it's like, if I can't remember the last time I did something selfless, maybe I should act on this. It's kind of just the way my brain goes. Yeah. I happen to be free this Saturday, so what the hell? So I grabbed a tool belt, a couple of screw guns. I don't know what they're going to have me do or what's going to happen. And you show up there, and of course there's the two or three people that are court mandated for service hours or something that have to be there. But there's like 6 or 7 other people that just showed up on a Saturday to help build houses for veterans or whatever the case may be here. And you realize that maybe, my relationships weren't very good because my picker was pretty bad. And when I'm sitting on a bar stool hanging around with the people that aren't as bad as me, or a little bit worse than me to make myself look better, that wasn't the most optimal way to find a contented and happy relationship with other human beings. And here are these people willing to burn a full Saturday just to help somebody else, and they don't want anything in return. So that altruistic idea of service, I find that in clubs. I find, and you go to a camera club, you go to a dog training club, that they just want to help you get your dog acting right.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll stand off a little more if you're coming back and you're really making super progress, and now you might be competing against them at some competition or something. They might back off a little bit, but in the beginning, man, they just want you to take good pictures. They just want to share their information they have, and it's not about money and advertising and all this kind of stuff. You see that on the internet all day, all the time. Where even this, I promise, I don't care. Some podcasts and some other things like with 30 minutes of content and 18 minutes of commercials, and they're holding you hostage for 3 minutes and they don't even let you skip. It's like, God, I understand how hard it is for advertisers right now to try to force you to watch an ad because you're not held hostage to a TV commercial anymore.
Right.
But it's a challenge. But in the same token, it's like, if there's people that we respect, if there's a podcast like the Joe Rogan Experience or whatever that we trust and appreciate and build a relationship, knowing that he's not going to have a sponsor that he doesn't agree with or a product that he uses. He's not just out there trying to sell crap. So I don't even need to see the commercial. I do have some AG1 upstairs. I will buy products or vitamins or different things that are recommended from somebody that I respect. I don't need to be held hostage for 4 minutes for an ad. You know what I mean? And I think that is probably the way of the future. And here we'll offer, discounts, and we'll make relationships with companies and stuff. But I promise I'm not going to be more commercials than content. That's for sure, because that drives me crazy. But
yeah, it's always tough when it's obviously the conversation's broken and now you're watching the commercial, and then it's you're like, okay, all right. But yeah, if you appreciate it, if it's something you enjoy, you'll sit with it, and then sometimes you will buy it too. Yeah, I think a couple of things that you touched on that I absolutely agree with. One is the idea that everything everything in the world's happening for a reason, right? Essentially, going back to growing up, my eyes were not open to anything like that at all. My eyes were also not open to anything outside of myself, right? I mean, my problem, that could be summed up in the way that Nick is just addicted to relief, and what can I get more of, and how do I make sure that I don't run out of just whatever it is, and even today it's like the Girl Scout cookies, or whatever it might be, right? Like it's very natural for me to have a constant thought of what do I need next, and that worked well when I was that only child, and maybe I didn't know if and when the next thing I needed was going to happen. So I always made very sure that I was going to be okay. I think there's something natural in me that's just constantly making sure I'm going to be all right. And that doesn't work real well when you're in relationships with other people, when you're trying to be a husband, and then when you're a dad, and that's a very tough situation to be in, where your natural first thought is, hey, am I okay? Do I have everything that I need for the day? Am I going to be, I mean, geez, it's definitely a game changer when you realize life is not all about you. It's not the Truman Show. You're not the center of the universe with all of it, circling around you and everyone else in the shadows. So, just to have an awareness of that is an awesome opportunity to have my eyes open to the fact that every person, there's a comedian that I saw, and he talked about this, and basically the good thing that happens, the bad thing that happens, whatever it might be, the reaction is, oh, like, or it's, this is how God's showing up for me today. And when I say that, I really don't have, a big religion in mind in particular, outside of this awareness of something greater than myself. That's definitely, out there and in the universe that is endlessly, infinitely unfolding around us. But I love the idea of, whatever it is that you're saying to me is exactly what I'm supposed to be hearing. Regardless of what I'm trying to say, you're going to hear exactly what you're supposed to. Whatever my wife yells at me for, or gives me a kiss on the cheek to thank me for, is exactly what I'm supposed to be hearing. And when I am keeping my eyes and ears open for an opportunity to say yes to something that might be inconvenient, but it could help somebody else, or it might be something that they want, I end up doing a lot better when I'm saying, yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, when, because I know it's the right thing. And so, yeah, I think I heard some of those things in what you shared earlier, and can absolutely
sorry, hold
agree.
on a second. Hold on a second. We got a little bit of
no problem, man.
It did it the last time. For some reason, after like 15 minutes, this drive, I don't know if it's because it's heating up or something, or it stops recording.
All good. Let's see what time we got anyway. What's the average times of your podcast? Like,
Usually,
what's the shortest and what's the longest?
I think the shortest is probably in the 2-hour range. And
oh, really?
And then the longest is right about 3. But
okay.
Maybe I had an hour and a half once, but we're not.
We do a one.
Okay, we're recording again, so we're back, folks. Sorry about that. We'll throw some Spiritus coffee images up in that little black. So I don't lose audio because I back it up in a couple of different ways.
Well, we got a drum kit behind me here. Is that what I hit?
Yeah,
I got it. Or
yeah, there's some music. This is a music household.
I was going to say, you wait till I tell a joke before you do
the rim shot.
The rim shot.
Do like...
Oh, look at that! Nice. You're all ready. Oh, wow.
We got it covered.
You had that queued up. I just, all right.
This is top quality production here at Flipside Frolic, folks.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to get the legs in there. I got the shorts on today.
Oh, me too.
You're
lucky I got pants on. So.
Yep. It is a little warm out there, but
yeah, we're back. We're rolling. All our cameras are working, so. Cool.
So yeah, I could talk to you a little bit about coffee.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll hop right in.
I mean, it all kind of ties into. That's why it was such a good match. Just with a little bit of the spiritual angle in the world, and just how things kind of coincidences happen, and things fall in our lap when we seem to be doing the right thing, as opposed to trying to do it our way and fighting this resistance. And we talk a lot about the war of art and this resistance that is this natural force that's just testing us and trying to get us to quit. Do you ever see that?
The war of art? No, I thought you were. I thought you mixed up your words and you were showing
not the
Sun
art of
Tzu.
war. Yeah, that's a phenomenal book that kind of talks about the resistance that we feel in creatives, and about the muse, or even about just tapping into something and looking for guidance, and then things just starting to happen, and people can, shun it all they want, if they're non-believers or whatever, but you're not going to tell me what I know worked for me. I mean, you could not believe all you want. I don't really care. I'm going to continue to do what seems to be working for me. And usually those people that are a little bit more based and maybe do a little meditation, maybe do a little prayer, seem to be happier people, and the ones that show up on a Saturday at Habitat for Humanity. These are not miserable people, like we can find a lot of miserable people sitting around bars on bar stools wondering why their life can't get any better. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But when we start following those clues and start trusting in that idea, then Spiritus might be formed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good good segue. So how was Spiritus formed? Give you the origin story, and there's a couple of different sides to that story. First, it was around COVID, and it was a time of uncertainty. Me and Jason were spending a lot of time together. Going back to the recovery side of things, there was a time where folks were going into treatment centers and finding that they weren't allowed to leave. Not to go to the grocery store or any of the vital things that they needed to get well. And so him and I we felt like we were early adopters. I still have this memory as if a lot of that stuff went to Zoom, but we were early, because I did it for my regular job, and it was like, hey, you know what, we could get these guys hooked up on a Zoom meeting and start doing all the things that we like to do in person to help somebody who's looking to stop and can't do it on their own. And so we're out on my back deck, and we're spending a lot of time out there, and everything revolved around coffee. If there's two things about folks who stop drinking, it's one is that they're trying to get well, obviously, and two, there's a pot of coffee very close by. It's in the center of all that we do. So Jason turns me on to great coffee. Probably prior to that, that I was buying the cheapest, darkest stuff that I could buy, the most volume for the less price. Right, that was the goal, because I go through a lot, man. That was me self-treating that ADD. A lot of people take Adderall, and I take caffeine. So it was my medicine. I couldn't live without it. But he showed me some great coffees, and introduced me to some of the ways that coffee can have different production methods. Coffee producers that are out there doing things that are super unique, like anaerobic processing methods and honey processing methods, and the differences you get from different elevation and different soil and smaller farming communities. And it was like, man, this is amazing. I love this stuff. And so of course I start digging in and exploring, drinking different coffees. I think if anyone wants to get started, and just find an Ethiopian natural coffee if you've never had one. And it's such a fruit bomb, so fruit forward, that compared to any dark roast coffee or shot of espresso that you're getting, or some of those big box stores coffees, which I'm not shaming, I'll drink all of it. But you get something like that, and you have that experience of like, whoa, I didn't know coffee could taste like this. It really, took me up to the next level of like, all right, what else is out there? I ended up, I don't know what it was that got me shopping for a roaster, but I ended up looking on Facebook Marketplace. This is a common thing for me: buy it used first and get my money's worth, and half the time get to sell it for the same amount I paid for it. And that's good when you go through like 20 hobbies a year like we do. And I bought myself this Fresh Roast 500. It's almost like a popcorn popper that's made for coffee, and it's an air roaster. And I would buy a pound of coffee from a place called Sweet Maria's. They sell it by the pound, and you could find coffee from a different growing region, different production method, and I would get that and try to see what I could do with it. And so what can I roast out of this coffee? I think that this is a good coffee when I tried it from others. If I was to try my hand at this, what could I get? And it took a while to dial it in. Definitely not easy to get started on my own, watching YouTube videos and trying this popcorn popper type roaster. But, eventually I was nailing it, and I was really happy with what I was getting. Friends and family loved it. They were, commenting that this is great. And I'm the kind of guy that if, I've got the idea that something's going well, the gears will start turning of like, how can I, what's next with this? So yeah, friends and family said I loved it. I'm a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. Another slogan of mine around that ADD is like, I'm not gonna wait till I have something all figured out and I understand what commodity coffee pricing is and how it's going to be affected by global warming and what's going to happen with the the environmental factors of the rainforest. Like, no, dude, I like coffee. I'm going to buy a URL, buy a commercial coffee roaster, and tell everybody I know we're in business, So that's pretty much what we did. Jason and I, best friends, spending a lot of time together, everything around coffee. He has a lot of experience in consumer packaged goods and, able to teach a lot as far as that goes. So, it was a great partnership with him having that knowledge of how to sell into grocery and that type of thing. And then, me and, I think I could have gone the route of, working with others, but I want to be the artist too, no matter what it is, that side of me, I want to learn everything that I can about it. I want to become the best that I can. I, right away was thinking about, who are the best, coffee roasters. I remember at the time I was talking about, locally here, like dark matter. I want to be the dark matter of, whatever we do. I don't know. I'd like to try the blind taste test now and see where I'm at,
Well, that's a great, some people say R&D is research and development, and then other people say it's rip off and duplicate. But,
Right.
but that's a negative spin on if you have a passion for something and you want to open a hot dog stand, go work at Gene and Jude's and learn how to, run a business and selling hot dogs. And, so you imitate is the best form of compliment, right? As some say. And so, when we have a passion and we want to learn for things and again, the one term, what's that? Analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah.
I can get stuck in that. And it happened with this podcast. I had goals. I had things set out with time frames on when things were going to get done. And I'm worried about the sign in the background and the border around it. And it's gloss paint. It should be flat paint because it's reflecting too much, so we get stuck in these, like, these wormholes of overthinking stuff or over educating ourselves. And like you said, it's perfectly fine that this podcast doesn't go off without a hitch. If I have a little post-production issue I had to fix, so that delayed me for months, just trying to work through DaVinci Resolve and trying to do video editing, because I'm a one-man show here. I don't have a team of 5 people doing post-production and video editing and graphics and all these other kind of things, even though I have toyed around with a lot of different stuff. And it's amazing what's out there. But again, you just got to learn by doing. And that's the lesson to anybody out there, just start, whether it's a fitness regimen or a nutritional thing or a business idea or a hobby or whatever, and that's something that with that ADD, I need to stay distracted. I mean, even 3 years ago, I started playing piano, which I never played before, so it's like I have to just keep occupied with growth and just learning and knowledge and becoming better. And I had a bass in jazz performance, and I minored in college, so I played saxophone. But piano.
What song are you working on now on piano? You got anything that you're...
Well, I've been Simply Piano. Shout out to Simply Piano app. It's probably
I've seen that.
Probably pisses off a lot of piano instructors out there, I guess, but it's really incredible technology where it's hearing what you're playing. Mm-hmm. It knows you're playing the wrong notes. There is Simply Guitar and Simple Voice. My kids have been played around with that a little bit. It's $110 for a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's 4 lessons, or 3 lessons or whatever. And now I'm at the point where I finished all the jazz side, but then the classical side, I think there's like 1 or 2 more lessons, and they're very difficult.
Wow.
And so sometimes you practice a little bit and get frustrated because you can't get it. And then sometimes you put it to the side and then you just do your regular tunes that you play. And so I'll play for 15 or 20 minutes 3 times a week and just go through my 10 songs or whatever. And then you go back to the lesson and you're like, what happened? Like, that wasn't that hard. So the way that the brain works, that if you just put something aside and then come back, somehow some synapses is crossed or something, and now it's just not as hard as it was. Or so that's been my experience with, but it's a good story on self-limiting belief, because I just believed that it was too hard.
Yeah.
You got bass clef, you got treble clef, you got chord changes, then you got melodies, and then you have a bass melody and a treble melody going on. Like, how is that even possible? And it was like playing saxophone with 1 line of melody was hard enough, or trying to figure out what changes and what notes to play in an improv solo or something. Like, my brain was exploding just playing an instrument with 1 line. So how could you possibly do all that and have 1 chord where you're pushing 11 keys down at the same time? Like, this is insane. And so, but that self-limiting belief, like, just prevented me from giving it a shot, and now after going through these songs that are a little bit more challenging, and with different chord structures and different ways you're breaking the chords up and whatnot, it's amazing that it's like I don't even know if I'm looking at the music, and I see an E chord, my hands just play it. I'm not thinking what note I'm pushing down, and if I stop to think about it, I could probably tell you through music theory what notes are being played in an E major chord or whatever, but I sure as hell ain't thinking about it when it's happening. So you're getting into more of a flow state with just reading that language and your hands just doing what it's supposed to do. And so it's crazy that it's not that hard. You know, and so guess what? Carl was wrong. Can you imagine? You know, like there's an old speaker from the East Coast, Keith L. That he's like, right on the mirror, you're wrong, because you know what I think is probably not reality most of the time.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the world is such a bigger place, and it has gotten to be beyond my wildest dreams compared to what I thought. You know, I was in for, right? I mean, I'm, this is super funny because I'm listening to you talk, and I literally taught myself how to play piano 3 years ago. So, and I did remember, now that you're saying it out loud, that we talked about this over lunch, you know, when we met a while ago, and that is now I think I downloaded a free copy, I downloaded either that one or I think Flowkey is the other one. I don't know which one I tried. But if you buy the year, you could try it for 7 days before you cancel. And I did that. I tried it for 7 days and gave it a shot. And I've always been, you know, interested in playing music, and I've always been very difficult to follow an instructor outside of myself and learn. I've never learned how to read music. I'm not great. I never like to call myself a musician because I feel like that has a connotation that you know, you're trained and professional, you know, where I am. I grew up in the Nirvana, you know, days, and when you know, I think every kid in Detroit played guitar because of that, and it was easy to pick up a, you know, power chord and play. So I'm more of the sit by the campfire, you know, sing and play acoustic guitar kind of guy than I am a, you know, a Joe Satriani, Yngwie Malmsteen, or you know, or a jazz musician. So, you know, with that, I thought to myself, I wonder if I could learn those guitar chords on the piano and then open up my chord book and play and sing along with piano. That would be amazing. I would love that. And then the wife had gotten a free piano, which means that I had to pay $300 for one guy to move it, $300 for another guy to tune it. And it's sitting there as a decorative table to put things on.
Knickknacks.
You know?
Yeah, it's perfect for putting knickknacks on.
Yeah,
everybody needs one of these for that.
All these ideas, and my kids, you know, are going to become piano virtuosos. And finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play this thing. You know, so I sat down and picked up a tune, and then another, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Now, I think if I was to look at myself now from that guy that thought, I wonder if I could do this, I would be like, there's no way, you know. There's so many things in life that are like that, right? I mean, I think we've got an interesting story because we had kind of the before, you know, where we burned our lives to the ground to the point where we had to stop and didn't really have a choice, you know, and then you know, tried to start living a completely new life. So I think for us, we were probably hyper aware of the fact that you know, there's so many miracles that, like, I can't believe this. Look at what's going on here. I mean, from my, you know, my career to the coffee business to the, you know, to learning how to play piano, I'm always very grateful and astounded. And I feel like, you know, I think those of us that get well and stop, you know, drinking and doing drugs, we know not to make it an ego thing and a pride thing of like, can you see what I've accomplished? But I kind of take that to the next level with just about everything. And it's a hot take, you know, that I don't know if, you know, most people can really get behind it, but I'm kind of like that with everything. I'm kind of grateful for like absolutely everything. I don't really like pat myself on the back for being able to pull myself up by the bootstraps and do what I've done. I think even that it's a gift for me to even have the ambition that I've been given, like, is the gift that not everybody has, for you know? Sure. I'm very lucky and blessed and grateful for, you know, that ability to, and the circumstances to be able to sit and make time to play a piano and not have to be working outside, you know, and all of those things, right? It's, I didn't give myself those qualities. It's all like happening for me in a way that I can't believe it. It's really interesting. I wonder who wrote this script that I am participating in. It's not something I would have ever been able to map out. And to me, my mind is blown to be able to sit down and play a piano. And I'm not great, but I'm much better than I was 3 years ago when I sat down and tried. And that's always I feel like that's the attitude that I should have. I feel good having that attitude of
well,
not,
it's 100% a great attitude. I mean, the whole idea of having some appreciation and some gratitude for things as opposed to thinking the world owes me something, which is what drove me down a pretty bad hole. The same kind of thing. And then just the simple truths that were presented to me when was I trying hard to do this life thing and nothing worked. I joke because it's like if I made the opposite decision of what I thought was the right thing every time in my life, it would have turned out better because I had a gift of making bad decisions. And I was honestly thinking I was trying hard. And so why isn't this working for me? And because I thought I was in control or whatever the case may be. And so, but that, the world owes me something, or this idea that the only people that succeed in life do so by stepping on other people to get ahead.
Right.
That's the only rich people got that way by shitting on other people. And it's just like, it's not the truth. Now, are there some Wall Street hedge fund managers that would absolutely step on a baby to make another dollar? Sure, there's evil that's out there, but the balance is there. The yin yang is there. The good and evil exists, and we have free will that may be given from this spiritual, consciousness or whatever it is, that we have to be able to have evil in order to choose good or to choose helpfulness or to choose gratitude, as opposed to I don't have enough and the world owes me something. And so it's a beautiful thing. And then the other thing that really stepped out is just, we get a reset on life, so to speak, to start this life over and try again. And the truth is, in the beginning, 21 years ago, I was basically an adolescent teenager at 34 that didn't know anything. I didn't know how to have a real relationship. I didn't know nothing. So what's the worst thing that can happen if you kind of give this idea a shot? I couldn't argue with that. I was doing the best I thought I could at the time, and it was a disaster. Mm-hmm. So try this. And so I tried that, and I have I have gratitude, and I get on my knees in the morning and ask for help to be a good person and to have a good day. And I get on my knees and thank at night, every night. And so we can read. I had all the what ifs. I had all, I drew the line in the sand and then crossed it, drew the line in the sand and then crossed it. I would never do this. Mm-hmm, I would never, drink in the morning, or never drink on the weekdays. And before you know it, you're on a pool league, and then you're on a dart league. And then I'm not drinking every day. Well, you are drinking 4 days a week, so it was progressive, and that's the normal story for those that know that. But so then you try to do the best you can. And so, but I didn't have kids yet. I mean, I was too busy doing what I wanted to do. But so I was late with having the young ones. But I'm reading books on early childhood development, and you got babies, and you're doing baby Einstein, and you're doing all the best you can to try to provide them with what the tools they need to be successful or well developed or whatever the case may be. And now that you're getting into the teenage years, I really don't know how much a lot of that matters. Now, love and attention, that's all we got to give. And that's the most important thing. If we can do one-on-one attention with each individual kid, even, not always as a group, that, I remember that meaning so much more to me, that my dad said, hey, jump in the car, let's go over by the machine shop or whatever. That was so exciting. And there's a snap-on picture of a naked girl on the calendar, and you're seeing things and hearing words that you're not supposed to hear. And I remember those moments with my dad, and and that was powerful stuff. So we could think about what we think is right, but just like taking the next right action, I'd much rather try to be an example. So when my oldest was 6 years old, and we thought the ideas of martial arts would be good for balance and for fitness and for self-confidence and all the positive things that could come from martial arts. Get the wrong teacher, you could get some negative stuff too. But for the most part, there's a lot of positives that could come from that. And then so I sign him up, and then I'm like, okay, he's 6. So 6 years from now, he's a black belt and he's going to think he can kick the shit out of dad. Not happening. Sign me up. So nice. As a 35 or 37-year-old man, here I am in a gi and a white belt with a bunch of 10-year-olds trying to learn, Aikido or, different forms of martial arts. But it was also about being an example, that we're never done growing. We're never done learning. To go back to school or to get a degree. I mean, I almost went back to law school. I was just like, I'm like, ugh, just because for fun, almost, just because, with work accidents and my history and stories, and I could be a criminal attorney just by itself without, so like, can I just study the book and go take the bar, and, or do I have to go to a, accredited law school? And because with my personal injury and accident and different things, for how many times it was like, but this isn't right. I'd say that to an attorney and they'd laugh at you and be like, welcome to Chicago.
Yeah, right. Doesn't matter.
So it's
or anywhere.
I almost wanted to be an attorney just so I can do these lawsuits for fun, because you can't secure some $500 lawyer to do this thing, for, whatever. But so to close the loop on that, piano was the same kind of thing. So there's that piano sitting there, and I want the kids to play piano. I want them to have an interest in music, but they're going to watch me do 20 minutes 3 days a week.
It's great. That's such a Nick move, man. That's such an ADD thing to, like, you put the pin in the piano and you went all the way around.
Yeah.
Everything there is in the world, and you connected it back, man, because you're keeping track of it. I do the same thing, man. That so
was
funny.
like the Trump bob and weave. Remember what he's like? You got to weave, you got to bob, but you always got to come back.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I do come back. Hopefully, that's the only thing that I do in common. But I was gonna say the piano and kids. I got really lucky. My wife's, super smart, and she does all the research, and she did all these crunchy hippie mom things that I didn't understand. That it seemed like she wanted to breastfeed them until they were out of the house and married, and that they were supposed to be like co-sleeping. With us, where we could have smothered them, and they were going to do this, and it was like and we were going to take they're going to take their, their shots, not all at once, but spread them out. And it was like, gosh, everything that she came up with, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're, but I know that she's way smarter than I am, and I'm going to listen. And
it's reasonable. There's nothing that doesn't make sense about spreading that out. It seems.
Oh my gosh!
All
the things that she did, though. I'll tell you that our kids are incredibly independent, able to be okay on their own. They'll probably have a whole set of problems when they grow up that they'll blame us for. I'm sure, but it won't be the same ones that I had. It'll be different, right? And I think, I know, I know enough to acquiesce to the smarter person in the room when there's, somebody's got a little more information than I am. I've got opinions on everything. I'll talk about anything you want all day long. But luckily, that one, she made some great choices. We've got great kids that are just doing amazing. It's not natural for me to, find. I think I had a couple of men in my life that, played the dad role growing up and taught me a couple of things that I'm really excited and happy with. I got an amazing story where I actually just found, my dad a few years ago, and we are developing a relationship as father and son who didn't meet until I was 40, and trying to figure out how to navigate that, which is pretty amazing.
Was he an active user back in the day, or just what? It was
it was a wild weekend, the summer of '78.
Oh, nice.
And
lost touch.
Yeah, lost touch. And he had no idea I existed. And all of a sudden, he got one of those phone calls that a lot of men wouldn't handle very well, and a lot of kids making that call will typically find, hey, thanks, but no thanks. Yeah, I'm the guy, but, I got a family of my own. Or, I really hear a lot of stories about this happening, and it doesn't typically go well. And in my case, little side tangent on this story, but yeah, in my case, I wanted to solve the detective work, the puzzle of like, I wonder, this guy's like half of me. I got a wife and kids now. She probably wants to know like what's in their genes. I wish I had answers. So do a ancestry and a 23andMe, and keep watching those third cousins pop up and hope someday,
make a few calls or send a few messages. Cool.
Yeah, ended up getting a call from a third cousin. They reached out and said, hey, I think we're related, and I'm looking for my lost missing father, and wonder if you could help me. I'm like, yeah, coincidentally, I'm here for the exact same thing. Of course I'll help. What do you need? And it turned out pretty quick that was not the case, but it was the case that he was related to my father. And he's like, hey, I know all the men in my family. I'll help you find your dad. And that was the first like, whoa, is this happening right now? And, one thing led to another. Those ancestry tests were only like $40.
Yeah.
I like sent him a couple extra and was like, well, have your Uncle Ronnie do this one and then have him do that. We're going to like narrow the gap here. And so,
you bought the test for his
test,
family members
to
do?
Yeah. And I had these old guys like, hey, can you do this for me?
That's
and I'm
amazing.
filling it out online and like, oh, look at that. We went from third cousin to second. And I basically found, doing the math, this one uncle of mine, one of his first cousins is going to be my dad. And so
he's only got 3 brothers, or
man,
whatever.
Yeah. Well, first I find out that there's an Uncle Rick, and Rick was a guitar player in a band that was fairly famous around the area, and that's Mom's MO, right? Is like the musicians, and I
She
saw a
was
lot of
out
that
there.
growing up. She
was the
rock
groupie girl.
stars. Yeah, she
Yeah,
loved
cool.
the rock stars. She had stories about all of them, and that was her wild life, and I'm like, well, that's the guy. And then I found out that guy had died of mesothelioma in like 94. It's like, well, at least I figured out the mystery, and that's too bad, and moving on. And then from there.
No wonder you're so good at guitar. It was Eric Clapton.
Oh, yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's definitely where I get the music from. And I didn't have that in my, in my mother's side of the family. So, and my kids love music as well. So there's definitely a gene there, and I can trace that now. That's super amazing things. But yeah, I found a couple of folks that I thought maybe it's one of these guys, and I ended up having to write a Facebook message of all things, because I'm creeping them on social media trying to find these guys. And I had to send this message that no one would want to read, which is like, hey, July of 78, I think it was the Bella Vista Hotel in Caseville, Michigan. Any memory of meeting a gal, being around that area? I don't want anything from you. I'm perfectly fine. Just looking for answers and hoping you can help. I try to make it as like easy as possible to see this news and not have a heart attack.
You can't even believe that message would be real, but there's enough information to be like, wow, that's a little creepy, but is this some sort of internet troll that's spamming because of something, and everything's a scam in the world? So God,
man.
To respond to that message is magic in itself,
right?
To even be honest, if that's what transpired.
And what happened was the very next day, my phone rang, and this guy tells me, I think I might be your dad.
Wow.
And dude, it was, you got to imagine, I'm like 38, I think, at the time. And I'm 46 now. So, I'm a grown man, and I think I've had everything that I needed, from a male father figure growing up. We find them, I actually find them in every man, that I'll make them that person for me,
sure.
And get everything I need from them. And I'll take my lessons, and I will listen, and I'll learn. And, and I think, to myself, I would love to solve this mystery, and now I am solving it. It is unfolding before me. And then the real highlight to this that's definitely unique and different is that he has a wonderful wife. I got a stepmom that is just the most lovely woman I've ever met in my life, and 2 kids that he raised as his own. They were hers. and not his biological kids, but he never had kids, and he always wanted kids.
Wow.
And he was very successful everywhere else in life, except he was never able to have a kid of his own. And now here I am, like, hey, and he's more excited to meet me than I am to meet him. You know, I mean, it's a really amazing thing for both of us. And now we're like building a relationship as a father and son, and talking, you know, as often as we can, once a week. And he's coming to see my family. I'm coming to see them out in northern Idaho, of all places. And you know, this is magic. You know,
It's absolute magic. It's undisputed. It's the ability to just fill a small hole in somebody else's life is like, what bigger gift can we give? You know, I mean, it's just that's just such an awesome story, man. I mean,
yeah, everybody loves hearing that story, man. I love telling it because it is amazing, and I'm so, you know, so grateful to have that unfolding before me. You know?
That's powerful.
Really, really cool stuff. You know, so but I think, yeah, there we go. We put the little little pin in where we started, and I think the idea was that I didn't really have it modeled well for me on how to be a dad. And I love hearing your story about, you know, I signed up for the Hop Keto with Henry as well, because we had one on the corner, and we got our gi, and we did the first couple times together, and he didn't seem extremely interested. And I think that the good dad thing to do would be like, we got to, you know, it's my job to continue to keep you doing this, you know. And I think there's a lot of things like that, but then there's also a lot of things that I just love the shit out of him, you know, no matter what it is that he's doing, not doing, appreciating everything he does. Same with my daughter, you know, everything that she's into, all the things that I wish she was, but she's not. I think that there's so much from, like you said, you love them and you support them, and it doesn't matter if they're not little versions of you. They're absolutely their own little individuals, and they're turning out to be their own individual person. And it's, you know, before you have kids, I think you think, I'm going to have a little Nick, you know?
And
a little Amanda, you know, and that's my wife's name is, you know, and you know, that's who they're going to be. And sometimes you got parents that will, you know, I'm going to get my kids the Misfits shirt, and I'm going to make them punk rock. You know what I mean? And I'm always like, don't do that.
Well,
you know,
living vicarious through your kids is very common.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's fine. That's where, like, that's one of the most challenging things, is because you made a commitment to the team. You don't like baseball now because you struck out and you were embarrassed. Right. Probably not the best reason to quit.
Yes.
So that's a almost no-brainer that, no, you're going to finish out the season. You made a commitment to the team. If you don't want to play next year, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times they end up playing next year or whatever. So those are those moments where, how much do we push? How much do we guide?
Yep.
But I think that's where, like, I'm avid and a lover of the scouting of America, and because I really believe, as a parent, our job is to provide opportunities for experiences, and we give them these experiences, and for some reason, somewhere, somehow, something resonates.
Yeah.
To where, man, they seem to be drawn to this more than it would be normal, and if we can fan that, now we've done our job, whether it's something that we like or not. So Cody he went purple belt. I mean, he went pretty far. I ended up blue, I think.
Nice.
And then Sierra and Connor kind of lost interest, you know, but we may go back, who knows, you know, but it's one of those things where that's like, where do you draw that pushing line, and like, again, with the music, I mean, I know music changes our brains physiologically. It's just a beautiful thing. But then the other thing that really jumped out, even with the genealogy thing.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know anything. We know a lot, but we sure don't have a fraction of a clue. And like I bring up sometimes the story of learned behavior being passed down genetically or whatnot. So is it genes? Is it genetic? Or do you kind of already know how to do that because both your parents were Olympic swimmers?
Right.
You know, so there's something there. There's science that backs that. So understanding where we came from and genetically. So I would hate for it to be considered some racist thing that somebody grew up by criminals in the hood might have a harder time because so much of that natural instinct might be crime or something. So you would think that there would be a coalition of science that would say, no, we can't prove this, or we can't say that because that would mean that, and that's not great. But if it's the truth, then, and we have an awareness of that, then maybe it would be beneficial to move past that.
Yeah,
So
what I understand about it is, in that situation, is I think that, and I'm not an expert in anything, but at all. Like I said, I've got opinions on everything. I can tell you why I feel a certain way, but yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to be said about, what opportunities are there to, do things in the community because there's resources available for you because there is money and funding in the community, or, is there education that's going to open up opportunities for someone in a community so that they can make a living doing things that aren't criminal, right? And there's, a lot of stuff that leads to, where those dollars are, where those opportunities are. And it goes back again to like, am I responsible for the fact that I've been successful in my career, that I'm able to look myself in the mirror and be proud of who I am, and be a good father and a good husband and a good employee, a good worker, a good boss? A lot of these things is like something that was given to me. It was a lottery that I was kind of like really dealt a great hand, and don't have a lot of understanding of other, hands that are out there. So yeah, do you talk back about genealogy, where we came from, if we were from somewhere else, if we were in a different time, a different place, a different background, or if my dad was around but served time and came out violent, would it affect me? Absolutely. You know what I mean? If it's 100 years ago that my great grandfather, was locked up, it would affect. There's so many environmental,
or killed by a snake. So now you have this weird fear from snakes. Like this stuff, this stuff is there. So having some awareness of it, even medically, prone to cancer or some of these other things that maybe we could, learn a little bit about, and these aren't bad things. So understanding some of that is probably a good thing any way we slice it. And so that, and what jumped out too, even with that little comment, is this lottery ticket. So where we're born, and that folds into the immigration issues and all these other things. Like, I'm sorry you were born in Venezuela in some shack, and you want to come for a better life, of course, and just kind of like there's a process, and we, that we're the richest country in the world, and we should be able to afford to help everybody. But yes, the idea of focusing here first makes sense. And where all this money's going, yes, if we put it in the right places, maybe we can help everybody, but we gotta get that going first. So there's that lottery ticket of where you happen to be born in America. That's a good thing, right? And you might be happy to be born in the inner city in Chicago, or you might be born in some rural community with faith and community and all these other good attributes. But in the same token, I think that if when we point our fingers, we got three pointing back at ourselves. And if we're really searching inside, if we can find that awareness that I'm not in charge, right? And that if I trust in this magic that's kind of trying to guide me, maybe that's the lottery ticket that everybody has potential for. Maybe everybody has access to that same lottery ticket that will work for their life, if you ask me. And I know nothing as well other than my experience. Yeah. But, if we have a little bit more gratitude, if we trust and try to make some of these ideas happen, or start a business, or do these take some of these risks, and all the government stuff and all the insurance stuff, that all makes sense too, because it's like, maybe if there was some sort of at least socialized medicine for preventative care or something, and I didn't have to worry about hitting a $1,800 a month bill to have insurance for my kids, maybe that would give me a little bit more leeway to save 6 months of rent and be able to say, delete the plan B and just go with plan A, quit the job and become a full-time podcaster. Like,
Heck yeah, dude.
you know, it'd be great. And it would be like Alex Jones and do 5-hour live streams every day. Like that's kind of, I don't know if that's where I would want to go, but this, I know I enjoy.
Yeah.
And so that's where you can just do some testing. You don't want to be irresponsible and just quit your job for something silly. But in the same token, sometimes that's that resistance and that's that test. That's almost the test of faith. Do you trust me?
Mm.
You know, and the people that do that seem to be the ones that is usually the part of somebody that's ultra wealthy or really successful, because they took that risk. They didn't have that fear hold them back. They didn't have an attitude that somebody owes me something. They worked harder than the next guy. And that's where you can have equal opportunity, but you're not going to have equal effort. So should there be an equal outcome? Probably not. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's that complicated issue but a lot of that history, a lot of that can be helpful in knowing where we came from in a lot of ways, because where that information's coming from, it's all in that genetic code somewhere, and what people want to call genes or what people think they can fix or not fix. Because God forbid, if you can fix it, then that's saying something was wrong, you know, and that's not necessarily true either when it comes to autism or homosexuality or all these other things that we don't understand where things come from. But who cares, you know, as long as people are loving each other. And
a lot of people do seem to care
each other.
They
care a lot about things that really don't affect them, and that's what makes them miserable, because they're out there, you know, as some sort of, you know, vigilante for justice warrior.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't really think that too many of those people are very happy and content. And sometimes work needs to be done, but in the same token, sometimes activism is not helping their own cause. They sometimes are even creating more trouble for themselves than they even realize, because they're not really that educated on the topic or whatever. Right?
That's me, man. I'm not an educated person, so I always try to stay out of it, because I hate when I hear someone that's not educated and they're arguing my point poorly, and it's like, dude, don't be the spokesman for this, please. And so, like I said, I acquiesce to the smarter person in the room. Like, I recognize when I'm not the best at arguing something, but I also can't stop myself when someone says, "Hey, what do you think?" It's like, well, you know, I should. Okay, I'll tell you. Here it is. This is why, right? And also, I went through the whole thing. You know, I've got a personal experience with, like we talk about, like burning your life to the ground with drugs and alcohol. That led me to, you know, an overdose, a hospitalization. I didn't have any legal stuff. I never went to jail. But I was committed. I was in a hospital for 60 days. You know, my mom was told that I was never going to be normal. Yeah, which I'm not. Yeah, what is normal?
Thank God.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? That's where we talk. Yeah, autism, sexuality, all this stuff. I think all of it's a spectrum. You know, there's some guys that are tougher than me, and there's some that are more effeminate than me, and there's some girls that are way tougher than me, and you know, better, athletes than me, and then there's some that right. There's, you know, if I thought about making out with a guy, you know, I'm not gonna be able to, you know, but you know, those things are.
I danced at a gay bar for free beers before.
Nice.
So that's nice. That's good. Close.
I played chicken with guys when I was like 15, and then once you know, where it was like try to gross somebody out, and then I was in a truth or dare game, and I was and somebody had stubble, and they dared me to kiss this guy. And after that, I was like, nope, absolutely not. That didn't work. Never get to be able to do that again. And then I have a visceral reaction as a result of that. And it's, you're not going to play chicken anymore. But, all those things, man, nobody's dude, we're all somewhere, you know, it doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters.
Love more, hate less, and we're probably in a better place regardless, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I probably lean more on, you know, with our friends in, you know, in Venezuela. I'll go through this thought exercise of, if let's just, you know, for example, let's say that they, I believe that they're at threat of gang violence and that their wives and daughters are going to be brutalized, right? And they have no control. If I was in that position, I've never been, thank God, you know. And I think I'm very lucky to not have, you know, not only all these good things here, but to have never experienced anything like that. I would do anything.
Right.
Horrible, terrible things, burn the world to the ground if I needed to. I don't know what that's like, man. Yeah. I don't know what that's like. So I'm not fighting anybody about any stuff like that. All I can say is, you know, I've never been in a position where I think like, you know, these terrible things in the world are out to get me. I've been pretty lucky to not have any of those experiences. All of my perspectives on things that are like that, or social justice oriented, or, you know, political about other people, all kind of come from this idea of like, there's people in my life that have been really good to me, and there's some people that have not. People that have been bullies. You know what I mean? I don't like bullies, man.
Right.
I don't like that. And my people, you know, that I grew up with, I was the kid smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee in Denny's. You know, that was where the love of coffee began. And the outcasts are my people. You know what I mean? And so I always, man, I'd rather be, you know, to me, it just feels like that's what I'm supposed to do. And I came from, like you talk about, like feeling like the world owed me. I don't know if it was, I feel like I was a victim of the big bad world and everyone in it.
Yeah, right.
Everyone was harming me so badly. It was so unfair. Thank God I've gotten some tools to not be that person, of feeling like I've
the system was screwing me every which way, and if it was this, or if I would have just done this, then that wouldn't have happened, and it was all just bad luck and bad coincidences. But on the flip side of that too, it's like we don't have these experiences, and even it being an educated idiot, I mean, I got a college degree, so I can play the power of authority on an argument because I have a degree, and you know, or this, that, and the other, or I can have a bunch of books that I read. So if I read 400 books since I've been to college, does that degree really matter? How many books did you actually read in college? Did you read any of them that you were supposed to? Yeah. But because you have that piece of paper, all of a sudden now you're some smart individual, you know. Yeah. And we could read philosophy, and we could read Descartes, to where, like, if we don't have enough information, we don't have a God-given right to an opinion. Most of the time our answer might be, I don't have enough information on this subject to have an opinion. If you're interested in what I think, I can do some more research and get back to you. And so, but then if we don't have those life experiences, sometimes we're not even qualified to go there. And it's not necessarily a racist thing because I was white fragility, or I was, you know, white privileged or whatever, undisputed. You know, if the same things would have happened to me that would happen to a person of color, chances are they would have had more consequences than I had. I can admit that unquestionably. But I can also say, like what you said, I can't put myself in a Venezuelan person's shoes. If I lived on a neighborhood in the south side of Chicago and 3 children were gunned down in the last month, how can I still live there? I mean, I think that I could just grab a backpack and start walking west and get the hell out of this city. But yes, you don't have resources and you're tied to government subsidies or whatever other issues. You don't feel how trapped they are, even though we always do have that free will. We always do have that choice. But we sure as hell can feel trapped and also. Yeah. So that's part of that fear. That's part of that decision-making process too, that have some faith and just start walking. But unless I'm in that position, I can't judge them for not wanting to leave. Of course they want to leave. They don't feel they can. Can they or can't they? Maybe, because there's food pantries. My kids are never going to starve. You could cancel me all you want for something stupid I say on a podcast. Yeah. And I promise you, my kids will not starve. My kids will not be homeless. You know, I could live in a trailer somewhere or whatever, and I'm talented enough in my life experiences to throw a few bucks together and be able to buy food. I can assure you, So there's some confidence in that. But that the one flip side of that argument is that it is about assimilating to this culture that you're moving to. And so this country is one of the greatest countries in the world. It's undisputed. Otherwise, people wouldn't be trying to come here, But for large masses of different cultures that come here to take it over or to make it theirs, it's fair enough to say, can we do something to help them make their country better if that's the way they want to live? So even in Chicago, I sometimes talk about that because we did always have that neighborhood structure, and some of it segregation or whatever. But part of segregation is having some pride in your culture and having your own art museums and your own cultural restaurants and food. And so the best part of Chicago was having all these, going to Pilsen and seeing the Latino community, and going to the South Side and getting, different types of restaurants and different types of cultures and different kind of African art and all these other things, and going to Koreatown and going to Korea barbecue. And that was a beautiful part of Chicago. And to just integrate everybody and mix that all up, I think is losing a lot, because it's okay to have pride in that culture of wherever you came from. And it could, could be any religion or Muslim or this, that, and the other. But then just like in some of these ideas of, once we start trying to force our will on somebody else, that's where we lost it. Like, you can live your life and you have the right to freedom in this country, do what you want. But as soon as we start trying to push our values or our will on other people, is where things get sketchy. And, and that's usually not a good thing.
Yeah. Coming to Chicago, I remember.
What was your heart out time, just to say?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. What are you finding? Where are we at?
We're right about 5.
Oh, good. I got a half an hour to wrap things up.
Okay, so
good.
That's our cut.
Yeah,
good.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I just thought I didn't want you to run over, because I know how
I shut the phone off just to make sure that I wasn't. I was like, dude, we could probably talk all day, man.
Before you know it,
I love this too. The reality is, you can talk to people that are, have all the things in common, or find somebody that's complete opposite of you. In real life like this, people are getting along. And in that life, that's not real, man. There's terrible things happening on that, all those endless, videos that we were flipping through in the comment sections.
They don't understand that the bots exist. The algorithms are there to keep you pissed off, and you're arguing with somebody that's probably not even a real person.
I'm not even going to say they, because I'm a part of this too, man. They got me. I know that there is real scary AI out there, and it's not Terminators. It's the AI that's at war for our attention, and they're winning. And it's not just here with, Meta versus Grok versus GPT versus, but it's, other countries as well. There's powerful forces at play, man. And they're, and then just to take it a step further is, the most powerful force, I think, is the fact that we've all got, a lifetime of stories that have built our worldview. And it's not going to change. It's hard to shake that. And when I care about somebody, like my dad, for example, he's got a completely different worldview than I do, and it's built based on his lifetime of experience and stories. And I don't want him to change at all. I love him exactly the way he is. I think that's. It goes to your point of like, you can't go and try to change people and do this, I think I've got my, convictions and feelings, and it goes back, I'll finish up on the story, which, being, kind of hitting one of my bottoms, and you always find that the floor is pretty weak when you hit that bottom. There's always a little bit further you can go, another basement underneath there, and I've hit a few of them. But yeah, the one that I hit, which led me to that hospitalization, and then finally, after going through Christmas through Valentine's Day, and in a mental ward of a hospital, being having my brain damaged self struggling to get through there. They finally let me out, but not unless I was in the control of others. So I was put in an adult foster care home. One of them, for folks with behavioral issues, even though I I think they had me on enough Thorazine at the time that I didn't. My only behavioral issue was that I was kind of like this and
Drooling a lot.
And yeah, that was my behavioral problem. And then, a few months after that, they let me into a different home where there was a little bit more freedom. Found a job cleaning houses, and spent a couple of years as a maid up in northern Michigan. And at that time, my insurance got cut, actually, like the state health care. It was funny because when I was a poor drug addict, I was able to get free health care and free food. And then when I got well, they took away the health care.
Nice.
It was super weird. I didn't have any money, but they took that away. And I, first, I'm really glad that I had that social safety net in place, that I didn't leave the hospital with a bill, and I was in the hospital 60 days, that was a long ass time. Right. And then I got out, and the state, the county up in, it was at Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the Chippewa County, got me hooked up with a place. I got this MISH, State Housing Development Authority had some dollars available. I was able to get an apartment, but that was after I exhausted my stay in the homeless shelter up there. So it's, it wasn't a fun ride going from, hospital to adult foster care home to homeless shelter. That has a 6-month cutoff where they stop benefiting that too. And then had to work with the, the county and the county mental health to get that housing development dollars, and then clean some common areas of the apartment to supplement the rest of the rent. But that, having that experience, I remember that was around the time of like, no, it was around, I got sober in 2000, June 15th of 2007. So I think you mentioned 20 or plus years, and I've got 18. So not too far, maybe not too far off. How many years you got?
Yeah, 21.
21.
June 26, 2004.
June. Yep. And
it's a good month.
It's a good month, man. Good time. Yeah. Nice weather for getting sober in June. Nice and warm. When you're homeless, you don't want to be cold out there. But no, I think going through this experience and like being really glad, looking back now, those social safety nets that kept me from hitting a lower bottom,
yeah,
I've since contributed back so much more to society. The fact that I was able to get well, and I might be that exception where there's pretty rare that somebody goes from there to here, but we see it all the time, right? People that come from from such bad bad bottoms to being able to do really well. So yeah, those are a couple of my big things. There are.
Well, it's beautiful that the system worked for you.
Yes.
So for folks out there, yes, the system can work, but unfortunately there's a lot of people that don't understand enough. And then there's also the vultures that are out there that are trying to find ways to profit. And then the incentive structures are not
There's
correct.
always going to be vultures on those in the highest positions making the most money, just really working hard, and the vultures that can't seem to do any better.
And it
than
seems like it might
on,
be a coincidence that though the long term the don't usually work out. So like in my life of running around playing pool, doing just kind of hustling, and workers never hustle and hustlers never work, that kind of attitude. It's like a few 24 hours later here, I don't think I know any of them folks from back then that are doing better than me.
Right.
So you want to cheat the system all you want to think you're going to get ahead that way. It seems like there's a million stories I could tell on that. Even like, selling wholesale out of your basement and trying to dodge the IRS and, all these games that people play. And then, like, I had one friend that was doing that. And he'd be always like, "Hey, don't tell too many people, blah blah blah," because he's selling fish equipment out of his basement wholesale, know. And then one day he finally gets busted, pays a $30,000 fine or whatever, which he was cheating for 15 years, so he's probably still ahead of the game. But then he had to get a tax ID number, and then he had to get a business license. And then before you know it, now I could walk into any wholesale place because I'm a legitimate business now. It's like, this is a lot easier. Yeah. Just get a brick and mortar store, and just, if this is your passion, make it happen and get the crap out of your basement, and you can be very successful. So
I started the same way. Same thing. It's like I said, that ready, fire, aim. you're starting a business, and for us, it was like, number one thing, and I think this goes back to the easiest thing is having a great idea. Everybody's got great ideas. How many people actually turn it into a bag of coffee that I have roasted with my own hands, and then there it is. Look at that. Yeah, we can hold it up for the people to see. But yeah, that was my goal, right? Was that I had a lot of great ideas in the past. I buy a URL. I think about this. What was one of them was second aid kit, right? Everyone knows what a first aid kit is, but we're going to have a subscription service, and it's going to be, oh my gosh, I think I just liked the way that sounded. And then I went all into that thing, man. It was ridiculous.
Where did that come from, though? Really?
Who knows? It's just, you constantly having ideas. And then I think
this is like part of, this is what's fed.
Where does anything come from? Right?
Yeah, it's coming from this ether, and we just open enough and humble enough to accept sometimes these ideas, like even the Flipside Frolic thing, or the logo, or the way that design happened with just a guy on Fiverr, and now you got AI. I should almost pull up the logo for Flipside Flipouts, because I did use Grok.
Oh yeah,
and it was like I went through Fiverr for the original Flipside Frolic logo, so I do own that. It's trademarked and everything.
Nice.
But I just took that logo and downloaded and said, make this Flipside flip out and make a logo similar to this, and threw it in Grok. 20 seconds later, I have 200 examples.
Yeah.
And they're all worth $150 even on Fiverr, and probably $500 for any graphic designer to do anything for you or whatever, for you to have ownership of. Now, whether you have ownership of it, and it's all this gray area and law and everything else, but it's just, that's part of that. Like, I guess a little sidetrack there, but the point being that
it's a good sidetrack on
you
AI
accepted
stuff,
you accepted what's given, and you feel this calling, and then you take action to make it reality. So Scott, there's the Start With Why is a phenomenal book, but
is it Simon Sinek or
this?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's a good book.
And then
I like the that influence book is one of my favorites. I love all those examples of like the Kitty Genovese that it kind of goes through. It's more like a school book. I love that book.
Yeah, it's you look at my bookshelf and people will be like, "Wow, this guy's out there," because there's labor stuff, and that's where originally when I was saying I was getting into blogging when I was off hurt, because I didn't know if I was going to go back to work, and I was looking at internet marketing and email campaigns and
nice.
and affiliate programs and all that other stuff. So even the other coffee press that you recommended, I was looking to just do an affiliate program with them, just so if I'm going to talk them up and throw the link on the website or whatever, if there was an affiliate or a commissionable link for whatever was sold through Flipside Frolic, then do that.
Yep.
Why not? And as it turns out, like I got denied for some reason. Maybe they look at my website and there's not enough traffic through Google Analytics or something. So
they want coffee vendors only, or they want somebody that they probably only chose me because I have. They would probably guess that I have a cafe, even though I'm just a roastery. I think they want somebody that's got storefront traffic kind of thing.
That's normal for most wholesale.
But, a lot of that stuff. But
most of the wholesale prices aren't even all that much cheaper than what's
that's
available
true too.
online.
There's not a lot of
it's not like 40% like it used to
for
be.
that stuff. Yeah, and they have such strict rules with MSRP. I put everything in, and they changed their prices, and then they just sent me an email like every hour that I was charging different than their MSRP, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had to take it all down.
Yeah.
Now I got to fix it and then put it back. It's not easy.
Yeah, that's a great conversation on some of that should be done. Some of it's
on the AI stuff though. So this is all hand drawn. We found an artist, and we paid $1,000. Man, we found a real like hand drawing graphic design artist, and he gave us a full branding kit, and it has like the masthead and the
header for the website,
the all
social
of the
media
different,
size.
the detailed, the not detailed, the fonts, the colors, which is just black and white. But there's a certain kind of black and white that is our branding, black and white, right? And there's different. So it's really cool. We invested so much in that, which we didn't have a lot of money to start the business, but we put a lot into that, and it was almost like, oh my gosh, man, we got to grow into this crazy brand we built. Like we don't even know what the hell we're doing. We got a brand that looks like this timeless, amazing, wonderful coffee that's been around.
Great.
Man, he did a great job. I'm not taking credit. I'm saying that like we found this wonderful artist that his name's Chris Masad, and I don't know what his company he's going by today. I'll have to share it with you.
Shout out to Chris.
He's a good dude. But yeah. And then now today I'll use the AI to make an image, but then I take that, I throw it in Adobe Illustrator, I turn it into a vector, I delete all the seventh fingers and the all those things that come up that you don't like to see, or the fonts, and actually use a real font. And so I kind of take that as a base because I'm not an artist that can draw something, and I just basically turn that into a really basic drawing that I make it my own, and that otherwise, man, I love AI and I abuse it and use it a lot, but I don't want anyone to see that if anyone looks at something I create and do or send or whatever it is, and they're like, that's AI, man, I would be I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But it's a great tool for if I got a lot of executive functioning challenges, is what my wife would call it. She's a special ed teacher now because of our son on the spectrum and her on the spectrum and all the, all those things that, that I've been able to learn about these types of things. And, those challenges that I have that I need help with, man, it's great to have AI help and fill in the blanks and keep me organized and do.
It's coming, it's happening, and hiding from it's not going to help your success. Somebody, you have to learn how to use it and be the employee that's willing to use it, or you won't be the last one out the door then, at least, or whatever. But it's, and there's always been the fear. There's robots and the assembly line in Detroit.
Yeah.
That's ruining the jobs for everybody. Really? Did it? You know what I mean? There's techs, there's programmers, so everything changes. And at the end of the day, things seem to be getting better. And if we can't have robots or do menial jobs that nobody really wants to do anyway, and slave into the grind on a job they hate, maybe we can open it up for some more people to be creative and follow their dreams or create art or create things, to make things. It's like even crazy Ted Nugent, he's out there with this super freedom fighter, but he's got a basic thing where it's like you're either in the asset column or you're in the liability. You're either giving or you're taking. And there's some truth to that's part of that same yin yang. The social safety nets are there. You're an example of it working. It's not designed to live off a lifetime. It's not designed to raise a family on or these sorts of things, but how can we facilitate some suggestions and ideas and experiences to maybe try to get it to work for other people? And all we could do is we're responsible for the effort, not the results. We put our 2 cents in, and we have our ideas and our opinions, and hopefully somebody could get something positive out of it. But, to kind of start wrapping up a little bit more on the product and the coffee and passion. And we definitely haven't talked too much about it, but we're not a big sell pitch kind of podcast. We're here to, listen to people's passions and listen to people's experiences, but we definitely appreciate the Spiritus sponsorship.
Yeah.
And we know that our people are going to enjoy it, because I tell you, this was a great cup of coffee right there.
Oh, thanks,
the one
man.
We did.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. We do something special like this every month. We've got like a monthly, coffee of the month club type of thing, subscription that people could sign up for. And if they're interested in something that's really unique and unusual, rare, remarkable, they can sign up and get something like this. We've gone through like a Tanzania Gesha. If you ever heard of the Cup of Excellence, there was a award given to a coffee out of Hacienda La Esmeralda in Panama, $1,000 a pound, $100 for a cup of coffee. It is super, fruit forward, very floral, like exciting coffee, man. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I would passionately talk about it with folks that don't even like coffee very much, because it's like, you don't really know. This is amazing, right? And the one that we had it was the same varietal, but it was from Tanzania, so it was even more fruit forward and pretty.
And that was the one at the tasting, right?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And thank you for coming to that, by the way. I wanted to say, I think that's awesome that you knew we were at an event and you just showed up and hung out and spent time with us out of your, which is not convenient to go and do something like that. And
well,
I appreciate that you did that. It was cool. And I always enjoy talking to you and hanging out with you.
Well, I mean, that comes, and it's not about me, and I'm not but it kind of goes back to being an example of learning the piano for my kids. And if we're here to help each other, we're here to support each other.
Yep.
We're going to sponsor each other. We're going to be on
Yep.
each other's podcasts.
Yep.
And so you see that the giving people are willing. I'll be on your podcast. You be on my podcast. We'll help promote each other. This world of scarcity is and screw your neighbor just isn't successful for anybody. We all can just build each other up, and it's just such a better model. And so even in some recent circumstances, I was kind of in a thing where it was like, oh, the left needs their Joe Rogan, or the left needs their podcasters and all these people out there. And it was like, here, I'm a pro-union guy. I'm born in Chicago. I've been blue my whole life. I'm definitely more moderate and closer to libertarian, like most normal people. It seems that I didn't move where my values and my positions are. It seems that the rest of the group kind of went a little further.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one like that. And so you would think if you wanted a podcaster in this field to help the left carry a message of some sort, then wouldn't you support that? And yet there was a few opportunities where everybody's all standoffish because they're afraid to come on and speak their mind and speak truth and be worried about being canceled because you said something. It's like, well, then you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
You're never going to have that person that can speak, those ideas or whatever. But
there's also an effective way to talk to somebody about something because, some folks are so, they can be, very full of opinion and so much vitriol or passion, whatever you want to call it, right? Whether it's every word is, spiked with venom or that it's just very passionate. Look at it whatever way you want, but is it really going to help? But sometimes just one guy talking to another about like, hey, you know what? There's nothing better than us just taking care of each other, looking out for those, that need it, being there for those that that need it, and I think those types of things are what God wants for me, right? And that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what God is, nothing that I'm not a. I know there's a lot of weight that goes along with that word, and but yeah, that's what I feel is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I feel good about that. But this is awesome. I love talking to you and being on the podcast. And
so anybody local, we were in Lombard at the Co-op, which is another amazing little thing that they're doing out there by trying to pull more locally grown items.
Store, fresh local grocery. That's what it says right out front. That's what they're all about. They've been trying to get this thing started for like a decade, and they're, they finally got it up and built, and we're in there. We're actually the coffee that they serve everyone for free in the morning, and we've made a little coffee station there. A lot of local vendors, like another soap vendor from Lombard, Soapy Roads. I'm trying to get my friend Raven Beard Co. in there. I try to introduce you to GoCon because you got the beard, man.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I never got the contact information. We're gonna get him out here on the podcast.
Also a photographer who I met, just like your wife. He led the Chicago Photographic Society and brought me out on so many trips to Chicago to go and do street photography, or go and do architecture photography. So again, always looking for ways to be a part of the community. You'd love him too. So yeah, we got a whole lot we can get.
We might bring the Co-op starters out here too. We were talking to them a little bit about coming out on the podcast and telling their story, because that's another amazing journey. So we'll throw a link in the description for that. So you can go and get Spiritus coffee there. You can also, we're going to put the website, any other social medias or any of that kind of stuff you want to bring up.
If anybody's interested in liking us on the Instagram, we try to do Spiritus Coffee Co. is our handle on everything. And then like the elevator pitch for us, which I can't keep anything to an elevator pitch. I'm pretty long-winded, but I'll say that everything we do is super fresh. I roast every Monday, and I try to get, the coffee delivered within 2 to 3 days. So it's as fresh as it gets. We primarily, we had all these lofty goals of giving back in mental health and substance abuse recovery because it's our history. I think telling our story around our recovery could be the best thing that we use it by saying, hey, we were, dope to hope guys, and it's like just felt so wrong. It never really materialized.
Sure.
We do give money and, time to these organizations. It's not really the business is taken on a life of its own based on the customers that found us and love us, which is like local. They love that we're doing free hand delivery and dropping things off at people's door. They love that it's super fresh. They love that it's all 85 cupping, score high in higher coffee. So it's all, the best stuff that we're finding. And that's what we're all about, man. So, with that, you can buy it,
actually,
discount it, all that stuff for you guys.
We might have we got a pretty good discount package going. Whether you do the monthly subscription or a one-time purchase, try a few different things, find the one you like, and then order the 5-pound bag because obviously that's the most economical way to do it. But one thing that just broke my train of thought a little bit, because we talked about a local artist that was hired to do this beautiful design and logo for you.
Yep.
We talked about a local co-op grocery store that's carrying Spiritus coffee for us and in a partnership with them. But we cannot leave, which when you talk about a powerful story, whether it was recovery, whether it was this, whether that, one of the things that really jumped out to me the most at that sampling, and folks, we'll keep you posted on any upcoming taste samplers, because just me personally, after my head trauma and my work accident that you guys might know there'll be another video telling more of my story with that, because it is crazy. But
we had that in common too. I was, we were both in these situations in the hospital where our families were probably told like they're never going to be who you think they are. You know what I mean? Coming back from something like that. Breaking my skull in 4 places. Yeah. And breaking both my cheekbones and squishing my head about 1.5 inches sideways under 12,000 pounds. Not something I recommend, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, because that gave me the opportunity to be home with my kids and being off with shoulder surgeries and all this kind of stuff. My kids for 3 years had 2 stay-at-home parents, which made them weird. Yeah, because no other kids really had that. So the attention that they received and everything else. But they're not weird, of course, but that was just a different thing. So, my kids are weird.
It's good
to be weird.
The parents are weird. Did you ever? That's what one of my spiritual advisors
unfortunately
said.
Not as weird as
that was one of his stories. He always said, like, he's bitching about his crazy kid or whatever. He's like, did you ever take any consideration of who raised them?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. What did you expect? Come on.
So anyway, with the co-ops and with everything else going on, we can't leave without you telling me a little bit about how does this coffee get packaged?
Yeah. So that's become one of the coolest things about the company. We got a phone call. I got a voicemail. A guy named Ralph called up and said, hey, we've got a school. We're interested in partnering with some vendors. Could you give us a call? I was busy. I told Jason, I'm like, I don't know what this is about. Somebody, I think a lot of times somebody will want a raffle gift or something. And it's like, your school, you probably want a gift or a free coffee. I'll do that. No problem. See what they need. Let's get it for them. And turns out, they're opening up this amazing transition program. They've got students with a ton of abilities, right? So, but probably not enough to where they could get a regular job. It is a therapeutic day school. These are, students with some challenges and a ton of abilities. And they are looking for partners in the community that can help them as they're 18 to 22 years old. They've graduated and they're looking for jobs, internships, these kinds of things. Some are suited for it and some are not. And they're all working with us at Spiritus Coffee to learn everything they can about coffee, to get those transition program skills, just life skills, how to learn, the basics of, there are employees basically, right? And they're doing everything from, when I get done roasting on Monday, I bring in the coffee. They work with their teachers, to go through and find all the orders that are out there. look them up, lay out the bags, put these labels on, put the dates on the bags, and fill the bags, weigh them, seal them up, and then they're there for us to pick up and hand deliver. One of my employees that'll go and hand deliver, or myself, also put them in packages and send them to the post office. And we've got a couple that are official interns. We've got a path for them to becoming our next employees. When we grow and have employees, they'll be it. They're on the bench to take those jobs, and they're doing a terrific job. And so, I've got a son that's on the autism spectrum. And, going through different, IEP meetings and learning about those challenges and worrying when he was younger. Now, he's already at 15 more successful than I am. So, his autism has not stopped him from for surpassing me already, luckily. But I think I had a lot of worries and concerns, about what this is going to mean when we were getting those early childhood meetings about the challenges that he was having. And, these kids, when they're out of there and they're 23, I don't want them to be in their mom's basement watching YouTube videos and playing video games and, wondering what they're going to do with life. They could be my next employee, a barista. So like I said, I have all these lofty goals, want to create a brand around sip in the moment, slow down, enjoy a mindful ritual with your coffee, have a coffee that's worth having a quiet time with. It might be the only 10 minutes during the day that you take that you're not off to the races on your technology. Flip coffee on its head. Instead of like checking off your to-do list, get more shit done, get caffeinated, let's go. Like instead of that, slow down, enjoy, right? I want to do this. I want to give back to these things I care about, like mental health, that I have a lot of experience with personally, substance abuse recovery, right? And the reality is what ended up happening, what did the universe present to me this time? It's here's a school, here's students that have a need, here's a perfectly mutually beneficial gift. I get so much out of the relationship, that I now pay, monthly to make sure that it's not just that I have funds going back into the school, and then the kids get paid, and and pizza parties and gift cards and everything else that they enjoy in addition. But but it's also giving back to them. They're learning things. They're learning how to have a job when this is said and done for them, and they're 22 and they go on to the next stage. So I didn't ask for it. They just asked me, and I just keep saying yes because it's the right thing to do, and it just keeps growing and growing. And man, I'm loving everything about it. So it's happening to me. Can't take responsibility for the good or the bad. I can easily take responsibility for, to be honest with you. I have a really good. Really easy ability.
We take ownership pretty well.
I take ownership well. On the good stuff, I'm just grateful, and this is definitely the good stuff. So, I think, I just, again, life beyond my wildest dreams, and it all keeps happening for me, and in ways that I wouldn't have been able to write that story if given all the time in the world of, what's got me from that guy out of the mental hospital to this guy, unrecognizable. And if there's anything to know about me, it's that it all is complete gratitude, teachable, and trying to learn to do a little bit better, because I've been given a great gift in so many areas. So
I don't know how else to end. That sounds amazing. It's give, and God forbid something happens and you just got lucky. Like when things take off and you see this vision of the future, and then there's so many stories. And listen to Andy Nathan's story and some of my past guests that would talk about the startup gap and the differences between when things happen and people keep persevering and keep continuing on, and then it breaks through, and then people, the haters are like, oh, he just got lucky. It's like, no, sometimes we create our own luck. But Spiritus Coffee, wonderful organization, local. Check it out. You're going to like it. And we're going to end with that. Check the websites, check the video descriptions. We'll get some links for you, and put Flipside in the description of the coupon code, and you will get yourself a little discount from Spiritus Coffee. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you later.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks for joining us at Flipside Frolic. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and maybe learned a little something about other people's perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and throw us a like on the video. Comment if you have any questions, and we'll see you on the next episode.